I just went to do a video on math versus drama. And then I realized I think I just did a video a day or two ago on math versus drama because think about where we're at in the year right now. Where we're at is we're at about the halfway point. And some people are talking about redoing their goals because of COVID and everything else that's going on. And there's probably merit in that. Yet, from my perspective, is I don't think it's COVID or anything else that's going on in the world that is hurting your goals as much as math is. Now, let's talk about the topic that I put on here is how much do you put into your feelings? Now, lately I've been called hardcore on the side of not good at all, in the same breath, awesome, and then also in the middle of indifferent. And I am a hardcore because there's a lot at stake here. And when I say there's a lot at stake is, I've got two things that I'm focused on right now in life: family and work. And pretty much everything else, I know that average is probably going to be my best in some areas of my life because I'm focused on those two areas. Now, when we look at this, when we look at feelings, how much do you allow your feelings to dictate what you're doing? For example, some of you guys know that we have a lake house, and the plan was to VRBO that. And the whole plan has been rocked a little bit with do we want people coming and staying at the property? Not only from a health and safety with COVID, yet also from the standpoint of all it takes is one bad renter coming in there to cause me a whole lot of headache and a whole lot of stress and anxiety. I was feeling that it was time to get back on that horse. Now, when we decided to put the property up for sale, our property manager, because of the uncertainty, and this is my view, it doesn't mean that it's true, because of the uncertainty, she decided to go in a different direction, which I totally get. Like, it makes sense. When people lack certainty is a basic human need. So we lost the property manager, and I was feeling like I needed to go rent it. I mean, it's $600 a night. And now, again, I don't know how much money you have. Who doesn't want a little bit more money? And when I looked at it, I was having this feeling of like, I've got to do this. And I was like, I go, okay, hold on a minute. Anytime I have a feeling that I choose not to have, what I've got to do is I've got to check myself before I wreck myself. Great quote, Rex in effect. Some of you remember them. And anytime I have a feeling that I choose not to have, that's something in my programming. So my feeling was that we needed to go get that rental income. So I said, okay, let me go to my thoughts. And I went to check our numbers. And this is where I think people get themselves in trouble is the numbers showed that we don't have to go and rent it. Now, don't get me wrong. On an Excel spreadsheet, does it make sense to go rent it out? Abso-freaking-lutely. However, we don't need to. So many times I hear, I need to do this. I need to do that. Says who? We've been saving for a rainy day. We put ourselves in a position where we don't need to do the cash. We have the cash flow to do it. Is it ideal? No. But yet, you know what? Sometimes you don't always have to go for growth. Sometimes just maintaining and not going backwards is a good plan. I know right now, I don't need any more stress or anxiety, and renting that place out has me going out and checking on things in the weekend when I'm recharging. I know that that's stepping over $1 to pick up a dime. Now, if I would have went off of my feelings, I probably would have opened up a whole other can of worms. Where are you allowing feelings to get in the way? I mean, this happens in relationships. Well, I feel like something's wrong. You ask the person, they're like, no, nothing's wrong. See, where do we end up creating more things because we're feeling a certain way? Now, I also believe in intuition, and there's times where I'll go against my standards and principles based on intuition. However, there's a checks and balances there, right? So let me ask you this. Do you go off of your feelings or do you also go off of evidence? Because here's what I know, that for the majority of my life, I didn't know my numbers at the level that I know them now. And I oftentimes, when I wasn't busy, I had a feeling of like things weren't going right. The reality was oftentimes I considered success, whether it was financially or work-wise, was on how busy I was. It didn't mean that I was productive. Didn't mean that I was netting the amount of money that I thought that I was netting, because I know this to be true. People usually make less than they think, and they spend more than they'd like to admit. Pop, calling kettle black. Yes, it's something that I still struggle with, and I am looking in the mirror on that. The reality is now I know my numbers. on any given moment, I can tell you, okay, there isn't anything that we can't afford, yet there are some things that we can't say yes to everything. And we have an immediate pulse by a system that we put in place to know exactly where on the variable spending that we choose to be. And we are going off of things like feelings like I deserve this, or I've been working hard for this, or blah, 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 blah. It's if-then statements, because every time I'm going to ask that you do this, every time you get an outcome that you don't desire, go put a new standard or principle in place so you can think less. Some of us think way too freaking much, meaning we make too many decisions, especially with everything going on these days, is we have decision fatigue. The reality is right now, I've got a feeling like I want to do more. I do. And yet I'm not just going to go and be busy to do more. So what I'm doing is I'm storing up energy. I'm storing up things. And the second that I see something that I can do, I get into action. I had a friend reach out. He reached out and said, Hank, I need this. I jumped into action. I used some currency that I had with people and said, hey, I need a favor. And we're jumping into action. I don't know that we have it all figured out yet. However, sometimes what we need to do is if you don't know what to do, sometimes being patient so that when it is time to do something, you have energy, you have resources, you have emotional capacity. And let me ask you this, how much have you been doing up to this point? It's kind of like smoking for 30 years and then being like, oh, I got lung cancer, so I'm going to quit smoking. No, that song has already been sung. You have been smoking for 30 years. You might as well just keep smoking and enjoy your last year of life, you moron. And I know that sounds like it's coming from judgment, yet, I used to laugh. My dad used to sometimes put his hat on after he dropped the tree, cut the tree down, wouldn't have his helmet on, and then the tree would fall down, and then he put his helmet on. It's like, wow, it's a little after the fact. Here's what I want to ask you to do if you're doing. Does your math make sense? And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go get that tattoo. And people are like, no, hey, don't tattoo up your body. The messages that I've received lately on being able to help people change their lives, I didn't do the work. All I've done is I've gotten pretty hardcore with my standards and principles and my values in math versus drama. What I find is there's two types of people. There's people that want to focus on the drama, and then there's people that don't want to talk about the math because, yeah, we're all going to have drama. If you love people, if you have relationships, there's going to be drama. There is. That's life. I'm not sure where in life we got this romantic idea that life wasn't going to punch you in the jaw and suck 49% of the time. I think that we're lucky that life doesn't suck more than 49% of the time. So we got to look at math versus drama. I know that bankruptcy was tough. I know that open heart surgery with Charlie was tough. I know that starting over with 1-year non-compete was tough. Like, I know that there's things that we're going to go through where sometimes it's going to feel like it's not working out yet. Again, and I've probably painted too many broad strokes, and I'm struggling a little bit with people who I don't have deposits with because I do magnify and I do know that I'm polarizing. And I know that sometimes if people aren't coming from the right context, Hank's out of line. Fully aware of that. The people that know me also know that I love you. I want nothing but the best for you. And I will call them as I see them. Most of us, our math doesn't work. We're not doing enough activities to even give ourselves a chance to win. My question to you is, if I looked at your math right now, would I bet on you? If I looked at what you held accountable, what you documented, what you can show me over what you've done in the last 6 months to get us to halftime. We're at halftime right now, as my friend Jake Dixon said. We're at halftime. We had our game plan going into 2020. I can tell you my game plan's changed. My math hasn't. My math has continued with 50-25-1. I'm doubling down on my clients right now. It's not an option not to do 50-25-1. And if they challenge me on the fact that they couldn't get it done, we're going to go micro. I'm going to ask you, when you were on the toilet, did you post? When you were running from, getting out of your car to your point, were you sending a message? Were you dropping that voicemail? I got one the other day from Brian, one of my coaching clients. He goes, Hank, I got to tell you, I appreciate you, man. You helped me look at something differently. Now my pipeline's full just by changing a few things. The reality is, if we all were a little bit more intentional with our work versus just being busy, we'd probably get different results. I'm getting great results in a lot of areas of my life. You know why? Because I'm hardcore. Probably to a fault to some, Some people don't appreciate my hardcoreness because they're looking through their context. And here's the reality: they're right from their context. Their context doesn't have to be my context. And the reality is they don't have to be wrong in order for me to be right. And I don't have to be right in order for them to be right. It's through their context. I think right now, so many people are not realizing that there's different contexts from where things are being viewed from. So here's what I want for you to do. All of us are seeking certainty and control right now. If you would like certainty and control, look at the micro of what you can do. Do for one that which you wish you could do for all. I mean, the reality is we'd all like to have some big answer to solve everything that's going on right now. I don't. So here's what I do. I look for opportunities to give a smile. I look for opportunities to see another human being, whether it's a white guy, a black guy, an orange guy, a yellow guy. Every encounter that I get, I look at that as a human being right there that maybe God put me in their path to just give them a smile. Put them in. I was at Menards the other day, and there was a lady that just smelled good. I mean, where are we missing opportunities just to be a human being? And this is why I don't have a database. I have a human base. And this is why, I'm reasonable with myself on how many relationships that I can currently be in at any given time. My buddy that just reached out to me for a hand, I might talk to once a quarter. But the second he needed something, he raised his hand and said, "Hey, can you help me?" I jumped into action as if I was an A in his life. Back when we were playing hockey, I did what I could to help him. Go do the math. Focus on the micro. Win the day. Sometimes winning the day is just not getting your ass kicked. Sometimes winning the day is just not losing. Do what you got to do. Be well, be safe. I love you. And all I want to do right now is hug people. That's all I want to do.